On December 3, 1971 at around 5 p.m. Pakistan launched a surprise attack on India's 11 forward air bases and some radar installations. Pakistan's plan was to neutralize the Western Command of the Indian Air Force. Pakistan failed miserably in this plan. Indian air bases did not suffer any significant damage and they started operating again the same night, but Pakistan has not been able to forget the shameful consequences of its audacity to date.
Achieved India's greatest military victory.
Why did Pakistan do this? What happened to Pakistan then? And how did this incident completely change the geopolitical situation of South Asia? To know all this we will have to go back 24 years from 1971. In 1947 Bharat was divided into two countries, India and Pakistan, on the basis of religion. It was said that people of two religions cannot live peacefully in one country. Pakistan was geographically made up of two parts, West and East Pakistan. Of these two, West Pakistan had complete control over the army and politics. After a year, conflict started between these two parts due to language. When the political leaders of the West made only Urdu the national language of the entire Pakistan, people living in the East were asked to leave Bengali script and use Arabic and Roman script in everything like education, media, currency, stamp. For the people living here, this was a direct attack on their thousands of years old culture. There was a lot of opposition to that order in this Bengali-speaking area. However, their protests and rallies were ignored by the government of Pakistan. Even after the implementation of Section 144 on February 21, 1952, university students gathered in Dhaka to protest. When they broke the barricades and moved forward, the police opened fire. 29 students were killed. Bond was called in the entire city. Similarly, this protest continued somewhere or the other continuously for 4 years. In the following days, many more people were killed in police firing. But still, somehow in 1956, Bengali got recognition as the official language of Pakistan. But this did not happen easily. Hundreds of people were killed in this movement. Due to this, it became clear that the political leaders of the West did not want to give much importance to the demands of the people living in East Pakistan. This laid the foundation of cultural nationalism in East Pakistan. The conflict between East and West Pakistan started from here. But this was not the only reason. From both parts of Pakistan, the population of East Pakistan was high, export income was also higher from there. But even after this, less than 32% money was allocated to the East in the budget. Between 1955 and 60, only 24% share was given to the East. They were not given a chance even on high posts in the government and army. Power was completely concentrated in West Pakistan. Since 1947, the people of the East were continuously becoming victims of this economic discrimination and exploitation. But why did it start affecting India? In 1964, in reaction to some incidents in Jammu and Kashmir, severe riots started in East Pakistan. Hindus, tribes, Buddhists, Christians started being killed in thousands and lakhs of people became homeless. A large number of people started entering the neighboring states of India to escape. It was not that there was no army there, but what should the border security do after seeing lakhs of children, women and old people coming to save their lives? According to the report of the Ministry of Rehabilitation of the Government of India in 1964, about 8.55 lakh people came to India as refugees. This was a big economic challenge for India. India-China War in 1962 and India-Pakistan War in 1965 had further increased India's problems. Nevertheless, the government of India settled the refugees in the eastern states of West Bengal, Arunachal, Assam, Tripura, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, and this problem subsided for a few days. Meanwhile, the incidents of violence continued in East Pakistan. In 1966, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, a leader of Awami League of a political party in East Pakistan, created the 6-point program to stop the continuous regional-based discrimination and exploitation by the leaders of the West. In this, more rights were demanded for the East. 6-point program was presented by Awami League in the National Conference at Lahore. But it was rejected and Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was declared a separatist. Mujibur Rahman was a visionary leader and he wanted to do anything for the betterment of the Bengali people. The current Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, is his daughter. 2 years later in 1968 Mujibur Rahman and 34 other members of the Awami League were arrested by the Pakistani government on a treason case. After this incident, large number of demonstrations and confrontations with armed forces started in the East Pakistan. Ayub Khan was the president of Pakistan at that time. By 1969 the strikes started becoming aggressive. Now mass uprisings started here. Armed forces started crushing them mercilessly. Hundreds of protesters were killed, most of whom were university students. East Governor Abdul Manan Khan was removed. An activist Zahurul Haq, arrested along with Mujibur Rahman on February 15, was killed in jail. This incident added fuel to the fire. The protesters took up weapons. Many government buildings were burnt. After this intense situation, the Pakistani government had to release Mujibur Rahman and the rest from jail. He was locked up for 2 years, and when he came out he was given a huge welcome by the common people. Awami League and Sheikh Mujibur Rahman were now very popular in the East. He was named Bangabandhu. Pakistani president called him into the round table meeting for talks. He presented the draft of the constitution on the basis of a 6-point program. The leaders of the West did not want to accept his demand under any circumstances. After imposing martial law in Pakistan on March 25, 1969, Ayub Khan handed over power to Army Chief Yahya Khan. Yahya Khan announced that there would be general elections and a new government would make a constitution for Pakistan. In December 1970 elections were held in 313 constituencies of Pakistan. Since the population of the East was larger, there were 169 seats in the East and 144 seats in the West. Awami League reached an absolute majority by winning 167 seats out of 169. But despite this, the leaders of the West refused to accept Mujibur Rahman as Prime Minister. Awami League started the strike again. Demolition began, riots spread, and many people in the East who supported the West were killed. It's the beginning of the Civil War. The situation got complicated. Now Operation Searchlight had begun. Yahya Khan sent the military to the East, and protesters were being arrested. Mujibur Rahman was also arrested again. On March 26, 1971, Ziaur Rahman declared Bangladesh independent on behalf of jailed Mujibur Rahman. Bangladeshi people formed a resistance force Mukti Bahini. Armed conflicts started between the Pakistani army and Mukti Bahini. Pakistani military started mass genocide of Bengali people and started hunting down and killing the intellectual elites of the East. According to the government report of Bangladesh, in this operation Pakistan Army took the lives of about 3 million people and 3 to 4 lakh women and girls were brutally raped. This was the most cruel incident in modern history. India informed the international community about the situation. Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi kept communicating with world leaders for 6 months. USSR, Germany, France, Britain, Belgium, US, every country's attention was drawn to this. The Indian foreign minister held meetings with the ministers of many countries but did not yield any significant results. Now the situation here was from bad to worse. Refugees again started coming from Bangladesh towards India. About 10 million people fled to India. The burden of refugees was continuously increasing. Refugee camps had to be built in the states of West Bengal, Bihar, Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura. Now this having started a negative impact on the India's economy. Agricultural production growth rate was only 1.7% in 1971 to 72 compared to 7.3% in 1970 to 71. Food production fell from 108.4 million tons to 104.7 million tons. The GDP growth rate, which was 5.2% in 1970 to 71, became 1.6% in 1971 to 72 and minus 0.6% in 1972 to 73. Import value started increasing, export value decreased. There was a huge increase in the prices of basic necessities of life. Going into war with Pakistan and provide support to Mukti Bahini has become more economical for India than providing shelter to continuously arriving refugees. On April 28, 1971, the Indian cabinet asked Army Chief Sam Manekshaw to enter East Pakistan. RAW and Indian Army started giving training to Mukti Bahini. Exile Bangladesh government has started radio program broadcast from India. At this time, due to the propaganda of Pakistani government, strong anti-India and anti-East Pakistan sentiment was developing in media and public there. The forward air bases of India which were attacked by Pakistan on December 3, 1971 were Amritsar, Pathankot, Srinagar, Avantapur, Uttarlai, Jodhpur, Ambala and Agra. Solanki, Kemkaran and Poonch were also attacked. This attack was done to paralyze the Western Command of the Indian Air Force, so that in the event of war the Indian Air Force could not take action in the western border. This did not happen. India suffered only minor losses. Some runways were damaged which were rectified within a few hours, and Pakistan had to pay a heavy price for its actions. India officially started the war against Pakistan. The Indian Air Force responded the same night, and next day both countries launched massive airstrikes on each other. This was the beginning of all-out war. The Indian Army went on a full-scale invasion in East Pakistan. India had two theaters for the war, Western and Eastern. India's objective was to stop Pakistani attack in the western border and to take control of Dhaka in the eastern border. The Western Command of the Indian Navy carried out a surprise attack on Karachi port on 4–5 December 1971. The code name was Trident. Pakistani Navy's destroyers PNS Khybar and Minesweeper collapsed and sank. Pakistani PNS Shah Jahan was badly damaged. The attack paralyzed the Pakistani Navy. In return, Pakistani submarines attacked and sank India's INS Kukri. This was a big loss for India. The Indian Navy again attacks Karachi on 8–9 December 1971. Pakistan's reserve fuel tanks were destroyed and 3 merchant ships docked in the port sank. The code name of this attack was Python. After this, Pakistani Air Force tried to find the source of the attack throughout the day, and the next day in confusion Pakistan's Air Force attacked its own PNS Zulfikar and badly damaged it. On the other hand, the Eastern Command of the Indian Navy had trapped the Pakistani Navy here. Since December 4, India's aircraft carrier INS Vikrant was attacking the coastal cities. To stop this, Pakistan sent submarine PNS Ghazi. Ghazi was destroyed near Vishakhapatnam port. By the end of the war, Pakistan had lost half of its navy. Pakistan's Air Force attacked Oka Harbour in Gujarat and destroyed Indian fuel tanks. In the eastern border, India had captured Pakistan's squadron leader PQ Mahdi, and Dhaka Air Force was no longer of any use. So India has achieved air superiority in the eastern border. After Pakistan's first air attack, India's aggressive attacks forced the Pakistani Air Force to remain only defensive. On December 8, 1971, Indian Hunter aircraft attacked Pakistan's Murid base and destroyed 5 F-86 aircrafts. India expelled Pakistan's Air Force from subcontinent in the first week of war, and Pakistan hid the remaining aircraft in Iran. The first ground attack was done by Pakistan in the western border. Their navy was there to help. But Indian Army entered Pakistan and achieved quick and initial victory. About 15,000 square kilometers of Pakistan's land was captured. Emotionally and psychologically, the courage of Pakistan's soldiers started breaking. They almost stopped the offensive war. On November 23, the Indian Army entered East Pakistan and started helping the Mukti Bahini. The joint and rapid operations of all 3 Indian defense forces weakened the Pakistan's defense significantly. The Indian Army entered from all sides in the east and surrounded Dhaka. Before the war, in August 1971, India had signed the Treaty of Friendship with the Soviet Union. Russia. The condition was that if China and America get involved in any war with India, the USSR will respond on behalf of India. America was a close ally of Pakistan and China since the Cold War. America feared that its dominance in the South Asia will become weak due to India's treaty with Russia. More than that, US was frustrated by the increasing influence of the Soviet Union. America was providing political and economic support to Pakistan. American President Richard Nixon even encouraged Iran to send military supplies to Pakistan. When Pakistan's defeat in the eastern sector was almost certain, Nixon sent the U.S. Navy's task force and aircraft carriers to the Bay of Bengal. It reached here on December 11. According to some reports, Britain had also sent its aircraft carrier to stop India. After which, on December 6 and 13 Russia also sent 2 groups of cruisers and destroyers. Soviet nuclear submarine had also arrived in the Indian Ocean. They kept the American Navy away from the war. China condemned the war and tried to help Pakistan but did not take any military action because India was fully prepared. Arab countries like Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Libya helped Pakistan in providing fighter planes and other weapons during the war. Pakistan used the Sri Lanka's air bases to fill fuel, but this did not affect the relations between India and Sri Lanka. After surrounding Dhaka from all sides on December 16, a final warning of 30 minutes was given to the Pakistan's army to surrender. Lieutenant General A.K. Niazi of Pakistan's Eastern Command surrendered with his entire army without any resistance. After 13 days of war, Pakistan was defeated on both fronts and it was divided. A new country, Bangladesh, came on the world map. A.K. Niazi signed the instrument of surrender in front of Indian Lieutenant General Jagjit Singh Arora at 4:30 p.m. at Ramna Racecourse in Dhaka. The Bengali people there did not want to let go A.K. Niazi alive. Indian officers and diplomats had surrounded him to get him out of there. The war ended. Independence of Bangladesh was confirmed. At the time of surrender, India had captured about 93,000 soldiers of Pakistan's army. This was the second largest surrender in recorded human history after the Second World War. In 1972, India and Pakistan signed the Shimla Agreement, in which India and Pakistan again returned to the previous situation on the western border. India returned the occupied territories in goodwill gesture. After the war, political changes took place in the region, balance of power shifted. India emerged as a big player, Pakistan was isolated through diplomatic campaign. In the changing political equations, India started building better relations with regional countries like Iran. Earlier, Iran was an ally of Pakistan. This war was a psychological setback for Pakistan. It was divided into 2 parts and had lost an important contribution of its economy. The geopolitical role of Pakistan was almost finished. New independent country Bangladesh was formed in South Asia. Mujibur Rahman became the first president and later the first prime minister of Bangladesh. Pakistan accepted Bangladesh as an independent country in the Shimla Agreement, and India released 93,000 captured soldiers in different groups for the next 5 months. The last to be released was Pakistani Lieutenant General A.K. Niazi.